the world's #1 podcasting platform for African stories. Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. We'll just wait for people to come in. Hi everyone, thank you for joining the live. Hi Michael, hi Angie, hi Molly. How are you guys doing? We're just waiting for our guests to join. Hi Janet.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you? We're just waiting for Joanne to come on as well, and then we can
Okay.
start. You having a good day? Happy
I
International
am.
Podcast.
Happy International Podcast Day, my first one. So this is exciting and daunting at the same time.
Oh,
Is the pro here, guys. Don't be fooled. She is the pro. I'm a
don't like
rookie.
that.
Yeah.
Congratulations on your award as well. You just won one.
Yeah, no, thank you. That was so humbling. I love the fact that, APVA and AfriPods are giving so many African storytellers a chance to just share our narratives and our stories and our truths. So that was a huge honor. And I'm excited about the podcast journey. So let's see where it takes us.
Yeah, you're doing good work. Really good work. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Let me wait for, I think Joanne should be joining us soon.
Sandwich podcast. It's another good one.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's really, for sure amazing.
It really is.
Yeah, they're doing a good job there as well.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, it's good to see everyone and good to see, where the future of podcasting is.
I know, it's so exciting. This is also our first time doing an event for International Podcast Day, so we're trying to breathe.
You're doing good. You're doing good. You're doing good.
Yeah.
I'm frazzled because I'm supposed to be going somewhere and I was like,
right, you're Yeah, thank you for making the time to join us for sure. Let me find Joanne. Okay. Joanne is there. Join us.
Joanne, if you're there, send a signal.
Joanne, Joanne, where are you? Yeah, we miss you. Where are you? Join us. Let me try and see.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me get her. So, Janet, do you want to tell us what your podcast is about as we wait for Joanne?
Yeah, sure. My podcast is called My First Time Stories, and it's essentially a podcast that's bringing attention to menstrual health management, especially access to products and information, but also covering a lot of intersectionality issues, whether it's identity, policies, self-esteem. Oh, there she is. Wow.
Hello.
The thing when you have people like Joanne, who are on face, beat, lighting. Thanks, Joanne. Thank you for
making get the memo.
She looks so stunning.
You should have sent us the memo. Girl.
Thank you.
Yeah, so sorry. You were saying, Janet, about your podcast?
Yeah, I was just talking about my podcast, and it's supposed to break down very taboo issues about our bodies, our health, our menstrual, issues, because there's about 500 million women and girls around the world who don't have access to products and information to do with their periods, and
Yeah.
about 1 million girls in school in Kenya who are missing out on school. So
Wow.
it's to make a case for menstrual justice every single week, one story at a time, until we get to the place where we have access and equity across the board. So it leads with storytelling, which I think as Africans, we are just very good at storytelling, which I love. It's in our DNA. So,
It is.
and it's an extension of my book, which I authored. Somebody saying, Janet, Bono uliacha kuandika. No, I read a book. I've only done one book.
They're coming for you.
I will do other
They're
books.
coming for you in the comments for sure. Hi, Joanne. Welcome.
And it's an extension, of my book, which I published. So yeah, I'm excited to be doing the podcast and many other projects to come.
Cool. Joanne, welcome. You're also an award-nominated Sandwich Podcast, co-host. We see you. Joanne, tell the people what your podcast is about as well.
My podcast is just about everything life, but from a young person's perspective. So we just banter around our day-to-day activities, day-to-day lives. So just around that, just fun things and, serious things at the same time. Yeah.
Oh, good. So we're here to talk about the importance of women's voices in podcasting. I thought it would be a great way to start the day because a lot of times we feel like women aren't represented in a lot of spaces. So we have an award-nominated and award-winning podcast host.
Wow, I aspire.
Don't worry, when you guys are going next year, you're going to clear everything out. So I wanted to know from both of you, why did you choose to start podcasting? Why is it that you chose this medium specifically?
Let me let the queen go first.
No, oh my God, Joanne. I was going to be like, you're kind of a queen on digital as well, but thank you. I'll go first. You're such a queen as well.
Thank you.
I've been in the media for many years, and so I find, for me, podcasting was another expression of what I've known all my life. I mean, literally, I think I joined radio when I was 19, and then I went to campus and then came back and joined TV and stayed there for over 10 years and then joined the digital space. So media is kind of all I've ever known since I was, 19 years old. And I love the new expressions of media and communication. So I was on radio, then TV, then, Instagram and Twitter and all these platforms that came up. I'm just very passionate about new expressions of how we can tell our stories and share our messages. And podcasting for me was, number one, honoring this amazing new expression of media, but also for some of the stories that we're going to be doing, there'll be some anonymity to it because some of them are very personal, very painful. So it was a way to allow people to also share their own journey in an anonymous way, which we'll be doing over the next few months. So that's those are the two reasons why I felt like it was an important platform.
Oh, cool.
Beautiful. Wow.
But then people like Joanne were there before. So I love seeing pioneers like on YouTube and podcasting. It's so amazing to see how they've kind of turned it around. So
true.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
One pioneer, let's go.
Yes.
Amy.
I love it. For me, it was as I was growing up, I used to listen to radio a lot, and it's just not for music. It was for the guys talking, like Lina and Nyangweso, Adele. So I was obsessed with that, and I've always wanted to be on radio.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so when I found the opportunity, like to be able to speak, and I just discovered podcasting, I was just like, wow, this is my chance to shine. And I hope I have been shining. So I just went all the way in, and I'm genuinely loving the whole podcasting thing. It's amazing. It's such a beautiful, and I love talking. So.
Radio people, she's looking for a job in radio. What are you doing?
Guys,
get her.
Just put it out there.
Don't look further.
So, do you think that podcasting creates a climate that encourages women as marginalized members of society to have a voice? Like, do you think this is a space you would encourage someone to come into? What do you think?
Yeah. Absolutely. Especially because, it's not easy for someone it's a very good way to express yourself. And like the same way I said, the way I've been wanting to get into radio, and maybe the avenues have not been there. So if you have
Yeah.
podcasting, you're able to express yourself. You're able to get a chance to have the feel of being in radio. Also touching on such important matters, especially
Yeah.
in the society, the storytelling, the way Janet is saying. So I would definitely encourage anyone to jump into it. Actually, I usually get DMs of guys asking, "Oh, Joanne, I really want to start a podcast. What do I do?" And I just tell you, start.
And host an APVA, yes? Is
And
that what
also,
you're
yes, I'll be sending them straight to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Love it. No, I love
Janet,
what Joanne has said. It's so spot on. The same way she's saying, I wanted to be on radio, but then I realized I have this space. And then she's already carved out such a niche for herself. Sometimes people even find that they may find the podcasting space offers them more of an opportunity because you're not kind of censored by any laws and regulations, so to speak.
True.
Yeah.
Even though mainstream is amazing because it's kind of like a crossover, I do think podcasting and a lot of these digital platforms allow you to come as your most unapologetic self. You don't have to censor any information. I think, even when I thought about wanting to have conversations around sexual reproductive health and rights, sometimes on mainstream, they only want to do it on certain days, like Day of the Girl, Women's Day, but it's limited. But on a podcast, you can say, actually, I want to make a case to have these conversations very consistently because I know they matter and that they're important. And then podcasting and a lot of these platforms are the future.
True.
It's true.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I think we lost Janet.
Oh yeah, I'm tethering and then somebody's calling. But yeah, I just wanted to say it's the future podcasting B2C. So
It's okay.
Plugging in now is very smart. Yeah.
Yeah, it is for sure. You used the word pioneer for Joanne, and I think you're one as well, especially speaking about women's rights and anything concerning women. So do you feel like you have a responsibility as some of the early adopters into podcasting to amplify the perspective of women on the continent? Do you feel like you have this, I am carrying the world on my, well, not that dramatically, but do you feel like you have the responsibility to give the women's perspective? So Joanne, for you as like the only female host on your podcast, Janet, for you with a very women-centered topic on your podcast, do you feel like you have this responsibility to represent the woman?
I'll go first, Joanne, and then I noticed Joanne also has a nice mix of women and men, which is cool because then it kind of opens up the conversation. And I know the work I do was really inspired by the issues I saw from about 8 years ago when I was an anchor. And that's why it's remained largely women and girls driven, because in as much as we're seeing women and girls make so many leaps and bounds in equality, the gaps are still so huge that it can shock you. It's great how far we've come, and I've seen it. I've seen how far women and girls continue to come, but there's still so many gaps, and there's still a lot of oppression in a way, even against you expressing yourself. Like, agency is also intimidating for people. So we still have a long way to go. And that's why I've had men on my podcast because men are allies and I'm raising 2 beautiful sons. I do want us to get to the place where women expressing themselves is not a threat, is not something that you feel ashamed of. You can speak as yourself and for yourself. And so I love to use the platform to bring as many voices on, men and women, but largely women, because this issue affects so many of us. And in silence, people are suffering in silence and in shame. And if the platform can allow people to normalize the conversation and to seek help or to be open with each other, then I think that's huge. Do I feel like it's carrying a lot of weight? I kind of embrace it because I see it as a platform. So it's not so much Janet's thing. It's my platform, but I invite people onto the space to share their story. And so I just feel like I want to invite as many people to join these spaces, because we are like people like Joanne, myself, people like, people who've like Adele and Man Talk and all these incredible podcasters. It's a space where we invite people to then kind of share their stories and tell their truth. And that's what's beautiful, I think, about podcasting, is that it opens up the space to anyone.
True. Joanne?
More or less the same, but now you see I have guys there who just tell me their perspective on how they've been seeing things, and then I'm explain to them how we experience it in a day-to-day life. So yeah, I feel like now for me is now pulling in the guys more, because sometimes they're so oblivious to something. I'm just like, guys, it's actually real. For real.
Yeah,
Like,
showing them your
jokes,
best
we're not
skills.
saying. Yeah, so more or less the same thing, but definitely I feel like it also drives more girls, because mostly women are the ones who tell me, Joanne, we love your input in the podcast. We love when you talked about this, and this. So
Right.
I'm proud of myself. Let's say that. Yeah.
I
We're
love
proud of you
that.
too.
I love that. Well done. Give yourself your flowers. Well done. Love
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah, for
Appreciate
sure. You're doing good work. So I know you haven't been in the space for long, but do you feel like there are any changes that you'd like to see in the space that would encourage women specifically to come into podcasting? Do you feel like there's certain barriers in the way or anything like that that you feel like if this changed, then I feel like more women would come into the space?
There's not much gatekeeping in this podcasting because it's still brand new. So guys, I don't think there's such a huge problem, but I just feel like women should be more open to talking about some certain things. Like, just be confident, be
Right.
confident in it, confident in who you are, and just speak your truth, because sometimes people tend to believe that one truth is the same thing going all around, but you can have your truth, I can have mine. So I think women should be confident in the truth. Yeah.
Cool. Jen, do you
That's
feel like
really
you?
well said. I think I'm one of the newest additions to podcasting. So I still feel like I'm a student, because in every space I go into, sorry, there's a siren somewhere, but in every space I go into, I approach it not coming like, oh, I've been in media, I know how this works. No, I always approach every new space as a student. And so there's still a lot I'm learning and navigating. I noticed, for example, I think some of the best podcasts are very conversational. Again, because we have Joanne, it's a good example to use, the Sandwich podcast. Some others that I've been on as a guest, and
Yeah.
I still need to kind of ease into making it more conversational and less static, like mainstream, number one. But the thing that I think that Joanne said it really well, there's not much gatekeeping, so there's not much to change other than amplifying and popularizing podcasts as a platform, whether that means doing workshops in campuses, whether that means doing workshops in the workspace, just to invite people to know that they can actually start a podcast and share their message. People still feel like, I'm going to need to have so much money for so much production, and I don't know what I'm doing. So if it can be made more accessible in terms of the information, and AfriPods did that for me. I mean, one of the reasons I started my podcast is also because of AfriPods. And so just kind of inviting people to know these are the 1, 2, 3 steps that you need to take. You don't need to be nervous or scared. Just start, then perfect it as you go along. So it's just the advocacy around podcasting, maybe.
Yeah, on
Yeah,
that part,
that's
and resources and everything. Fun fact: we started the podcast with just a phone in a room, so we had to tell everyone. Yeah, so you see,
Nice.
easy as that. You can easily record on your phone and edit it. Share your word out there. And I know for sure people will listen and will support. Personally, I'm ready to support whoever is down for it. Yeah.
Yes, that's true. That's very true also, because a lot of times what we like to tell people is just start where you are, start with your phone and grow, because I feel like a lot of people feel like we need to enter a space where they're doing well and then now come in at the level Sandwich is at now, or the level Janet Mbugua is at now. But no one sees like the growth. So I think also for podcasters, showing where you started and how you came up would be important, because then people can see the growth as we work on trying to educate people. We're doing things with colleges. We were at Daystar the other day. So everyone, I feel like, in the ecosystem at the moment needs to play a role. I want to open up the floor for questions from anyone who's in the live. Joanne, I see people telling you they'll reach out soon for the podcast. So the DMs better be open.
All the time. You can reach out anytime you want.
Yeah. That's cool. So I wanted to ask you also, in this space where now awards and everything are happening, do you feel like it confirms what it is you believed your thing is, or does it confirm for you podcasting was the right thing? Or do you feel like the splash is unnecessary, Like, do you feel better now that like I'm award winning or I'm award nominated, you know, that kind of thing? Do you feel like it gives more to
But
the space? Yeah, validation, exactly.
um, I don't think so. To me, I don't think it is, because it's just something that I love doing, whether or not I'm getting recognition or not. Like, I appreciate it. Like, thank you, but at the same time, just like I'm okay regardless. At least if I have an audience and the audience is appreciating me, well and good. The awards really don't do much for me. It's just like a confirmation. It's just like, okay, unajaribu, you know.
Yeah,
But
there
yeah,
you go.
I would pretty good. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
I like that answer. Joanne is Gen Z, right? Are you
Yes,
Gen Z? Gen Z will correct this word. I tell everyone that all the time. I'm like,
We
because I
will.
feel like a lot of people are working from passion, and that the validation is inward,
it's
which is
inward.
a
Yeah.
big deal. And
Yeah.
I want you guys to really protect that, because a lot of people wait for validation or seek out validation instead of being like, hey, I started something, I'm onto something, and I feel great about it.
Mhm.
So, kudos. And I think similar to what she said about the awards are obviously always a great, validation. What you're
Yeah.
Yeah.
seeing and doing is being heard. But it's important to do the work as if the awards are not there, for sure. That's also something I've believed in for a very long time. And
Mhm.
it may sound obvious or it may sound strange, but it's true. You have to really push forth. And even when I was doing the book, I was like, I believe this book means something. When I started the podcast, I said, I believe there's a reason why these stories need to be told. And
Yeah.
sometimes it takes a while before people catch on, but you have to literally believe that you are making a case for an important message. So keep going. Even if it takes 1 year, even if it takes 2, you have
Yeah.
to really believe in what it is that you're putting out there. You can pause and reflect and go back, but just don't stop because nobody's watching or nobody's listening.
Yeah.
Easier said than done, but you have to have an inward validation of your message. Bottom line.
Yeah.
But yeah, but the awards are good. It's a good
They're
it's
good.
a good way to recognize
Like, you can
podcasting.
get them to us. Thank
We
you,
can
but
still bring them,
bring them. But
You would say
but
no
it's
when
a
they
good
come,
yeah,
but
it's a good
also
way
you
to
would stop
recognize.
podcasting if they don't.
I know. It's a
uh,
good way to recognize podcasting as its and voice as its own craft, which I think is
yeah.
brilliant. Like the APVA awards were good because they recognized podcasters and voice artists. That's rare.
Mm.
That it specifically speaks to voice is very powerful.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so thank you guys so much. I want to give you each 1 minute to push your podcast, to push what it is you want people to know about you. I'll give you each 1 minute, and then yeah,
My
Joanne, you
name
want
Joanne.
to start?
Joanne is an OG podcaster ahead of me. So I'm
Yes, we
like,
need to respect.
go,
We need to respect.
go.
So yes, my name is Joan Melly, Sandwich Podcast. Soon to start my own.
Yes,
Yes, I'll
yes.
let you know once I do. But yeah, please add us at the Sandwich Podcast KE on YouTube, Sandwich Podcast on Instagram, Sandwich Pod One on Twitter. Yes, and I'd like amazing co-hosts. They're hilarious. Where to go? You guys are funny, and I really love working with them. So I really, really appreciate everything that podcasting has brought. The opportunities. I am so grateful
Yeah.
for that. And I'm so glad I could talk your ears out. Thank you for giving me that chance.
And if you're listening, give a radio job.
Yeah, I'm going to be on radio, so yes.
That's all right.
Yeah.
And shout out to your co-hosts right now. We see Sandwich has joined the live as well, so shout out to them.
Yeah, shout out to Sandwich Podcast.
Yeah.
Wow.
Janet?
I love it. I love it. Yeah, my first time stories is the name of the podcast. You can also find us on social media as my first time stories. And yeah, I think it's just an exciting journey and people can follow, listen, share stories. We're soon going to open it up for it to be more of people, not so much me interviewing, but just kind of people coming on with their own narrative and story.
Oh, wow.
And the whole time we are pushing for a very important message, which is just to make sure that these issues are no longer taboo. There's no, issues around patriarchy and sexism. We just want
Mhm.
to celebrate us, all of us in our own shape and form. And to thank AfriPods and APVA and Profisi. I think I've started the journey really well with folks like that. I don't know what the future holds. I love I love just kind of moving with what I feel works.
With the flow.
That's something I've done all my life, and it's worked so far because I just, like Joanne said, you throw yourself in with validation and with your facts and with your knowledge and your skill set, and you go, I'm also a student of life, so I'll go learning and teaching as I go along. But kudos to people like Joanne and, you know, and so many of the other podcasters who are making a mark and getting opportunities because of it. I do believe she can easily end up in radio. If for whatever reason down the line something changes, I still think she'll be good. So, you know, I'm just saying.
I agree with you. Thank you both so much for making the time. Thank you also for creating this space and being the pioneers to have women look up to you into coming to podcasting, whether it's starting it with a group of people, starting your own thing, doing the topics that we know we shouldn't talk about, but we're talking about them. I also want to say thank you to Kofisi. They've been our gracious. They invited us and allowing us to use their studios for our lives today. So thank you to Kofisi. And if you have a podcast, AfriPods is the place you need to be. So download the AfriPods app. Follow us on AfriPods, at AfriPods on all social media platforms. And keep it here. We have a long day of wonderful lives coming. So thank you guys so much for your time. You guys absolutely rock.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Gadoni, and thank you for your support as Gadoni as well for a lot of what a lot of us do. Thank you.
For sure, I'm here for you anytime.
Nice to meet you, Joanne. Keep shining.
Nice to meet you, Janet.
So stunning. Thank
you also to everyone who's joined the live. You guys are amazing. And make sure you follow the podcast. You had My First Time Story Sandwich podcast. Listen to them so that, you know, we need to grow this industry, people. So make sure you listen to those podcasts.
Thank you
so much. This was so much fun. Bye.